I'm Jim Collison and live from Omaha, Nebraska in the Gallup offices in India. This is Gallup's Call to Coach, recorded on August 25th, 2014. Call to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you have questions or comments or even contributions during this webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available for you. It's right below the main video window there on the main page, and we'd love to have you log in and join us in the conversation. If you're listening to the recorded version or have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions for small, medium, or large organizations, you can contact us, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, or use the contact page that's right there on coaching.gallup.com. And don't forget to visit the Gallup Strength Center. Just use gallupstrengthcenter.com, all one word, for your coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video and both the streaming and now downloadable audio for offline listening to past shows. It's all available at our website, coaching.gallup.com, and we'd love to have you live tweet with us. You can use hashtag CSFchat for that, and of course follow @StrengthsFinder for all the news that's going on out there. Pooja Luthra is our host today. She works as an advanced consultant with Gallup there in Delhi, and it's great to see you, Pooja. Welcome to another Call to Coach.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Very, very warm welcome to the 4th edition of Gallup Call to Coach here in India. Lots of excitement again happening here at Gallup India. I've got some tidbits to share with you on that. As Jim said, Call to Coach is done with our coaches to share their experience around using the strengths-based philosophy in whatever they do, and a formal way of becoming a Gallup certified coach is through the accelerated program here that we run regionally and all across the world actually now. In India, the exciting piece of news is that we have the 4th accelerated program coming up next week, the week of September 8th, and we are totally sold out on that. So that's something that was huge for us, and it's absolutely exciting here. The one thing that I want to do today before we start off with our guest is to thank all of you that have been diligently watching our Call to Coach series, because after we are done, we get so many interesting questions, comments, suggestions that keep us really, really busy through the month and answering some of those and figuring things out and evolving our own understanding on some of the questions that are being asked and the way everyone's trying to apply the strengths-based philosophy. So thank you so much for doing that, and we hope that you continue to do that even more. Our guest for today, I'm not going to take too much time. I just straight away get to introducing our guest for today. His name is Manish Puri, and he is actively engaged in coaching both individuals and organizations from a point of view of whatever personal and professional goals that people want to achieve. Now, he has 23 years of work experience behind him, but now he is an executive coach on his own. He's also a Gallup certified coach. He got certified earlier this year. And right now, I think what's taking up a lot of his time is that he's writing a book on leadership practices. So a great resource for us today to learn about how he has used the strengths-based development approach in the coaching practices that he has done with his clients across the country. So Manish, a very, very warm welcome to the Indian edition of Gallup Call to Coach.
Thank you very much, Pooja, and good morning to you as well as Jim. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah, absolutely. Manish, before we get started on some of the applications, why don't you begin by telling us what your top 5 are and your your understanding around the same, because I know I've heard a lot of stories from you around how you learned about your top 5, and I know those aha moments that came up to you even when we were doing the course. So why don't you tell everyone about your top 5?
Sure. So my top 5 are: number 1 is activator. Number 2 is significance. Number 3 is focus. Number 4 is futuristic. And number 5 is relator. All right. Frankly, my family is very worried right now because they know I lead with activator. So they're not very sure about how I'm going to do this video chat with all you guys. All right. Activator is something that I did not know I had till such time that I met you guys earlier in Mumbai this year. When we talked at length about activator, that's when I realized as to why I do some things right? Why is it that I've been leading my life a certain way? And I must tell everybody on the call that Activator is something that makes me do a whole lot of things. All right. It's with time that I have learned that there are some things that need to be thought about, deliberated before I actually take action on them. But by and large, I have been an action-oriented guy right throughout. Okay, so that's what makes me take action. Significance is something that makes me strive for recognition. I'm hungry for recognition. However, my understanding of significance is that, if you sort of run behind a goal with the intention of getting recognized, I'd say that's the balcony of the team. However, if you look at the other side and if you say that I'm going to do stuff only to get attention, right, and I may not do everything the right way to get attention, then I think that's the basement. Fortunately, I've been sort of running on the balcony side of significance, and I have seen a whole lot of success because of this theme, right? The third one is focus. I've always been a focus guy. Whether it's something that I need to do or something I shouldn't be doing, I've been focused all right. However, I must say that this is something that keeps getting me back on track time and again. Anytime that I feel I've sort of moved away from the line, this theme gets me back into the line and it makes me progress towards what I really want to achieve. Futuristic, well, some people say I'm dreamy, because I do everything in line with where I need to be in the future. I have a vision for my future. But an honest confession is that I don't think I'd be able to do too much if I did not have this theme. This really propels me to go and achieve what I really want to be in the future. So that's pretty good. Relator is something that helps me be in touch with a whole lot of people who I seem to have lost touch with lately. And the kind of relationships that I have been able to cultivate with people, it just makes me sort of give a call to them and we are able to take it on from where we last left. And I'd say that I've also used this very significantly in my one-on-one coachings. I've been able to establish real close relationships with people. So that's a little rundown about my top 5.
Excellent, excellent. I have to say this, Manish. I mean, when we first met in January earlier this year, from that time on to right now, it's so heartening to see you. You've evolved your understanding of your talent themes, because I remember talking about Activator so extensively back then as well. And what you just said strikes home absolutely so much, because here you are talking about how that talent theme is in a raw state in which you're actually doing it not so self-consciously, because that's who you innately are. And then once you get a hang of this is who I am, and you understand a little bit more about yourself, how you can regulate that theme to become from a raw theme to a mature theme. So you're talking about the significance part of it, and that's one of the most common themes where people tend to take, oh my god, attention hogger. You tend to think of the basement more than the balcony. And the more you speak, you just spoke about how you've evolved into the the balcony part of it, which is exactly what the strengths-based development journey takes us on, that how can we use the talent themes to help us evolve things better. Excellent. So tell me a little bit about your journey as an executive coach. I mean, of course, keeping in mind that how, the talent themes have sort of helped you in this journey, or, how it all started. You've mentioned about Relator that you do tend to form close relationships. But tell us overall about your journey as an executive coach.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say about this journey is that being a subscriber to the Gallup's strength psychology has been extremely heartening. And I'd say that because I don't know if you'll agree with me, Pooja, but in our country we have people focusing on weaknesses rather than strengths. And I have also kind of grown up to be who I am today with a phase in my life where a lot of people would say that that's where you're weak, and so you got to focus there. So I grew up with that psychology. However, today, strength psychology has made a tremendous amount of difference in my entire approach towards everything I do, because it's a great feeling to get up in the morning and say that today I'm going to be working in line with my strengths, as against earlier times when I'd kind of worry that today again I've got to go back and work on that weakness that somebody pointed out. So I think from that perspective, it has been extremely refreshing. And it's a great realization that there is no word called weakness. And if there is something that you're not very good at, then you don't really need to worry too much about it. Just let it be. And instead focus on your strengths. So I think that realization has been very empowering. All right. The other piece I would say is the order of my themes. When I first got the report and I went through my talent themes, I was very sure that I'm going to have communication in my top 5. All right. But when I saw my top 5, I was slightly disappointed because I did not find communication there. Communication is my number 7, all right, which is not very far from top 5. However, it made me think that if this is at number 7, what does it mean? And the way I understood it was that if it's at number 7, it means that my communication is good. However, the ones that are above 7 are the ones which are really dominant, which are really good, which are the ones that actually define me. So my perspective of looking at things changed. And in my earlier times, I would have perhaps looked at communication and said, this looks like a weak area. But today, when I see something at number 12 or number 19, I would say that I have developed an empowering way to look at it and say that this is good. However, the ones above them, above this number, are the ones that truly define me, are the ones that are more dominant. And so let's work in line with those. Yeah. So strengths, dominant strengths, lesser strengths. I really like this word lesser strengths. It's so much better than a weakness. And even when you say the word weakness as against lesser strength, I'm sure you'd agree with me that lesser strength is way more empowering. All right. So
absolutely.
A mix of all of these has been my experience. And to be very honest, since the time that I have started working very actively on Gallup strength psychology, I realized that I'm attracting much better kind of people. I may not necessarily be attracting quantity of people, but I am definitely attracting better quality of people. Quantity also has seen a bit of increase in the last few months. And I would attribute that to the fact that people are way more comfortable talking about their strengths than they are talking about their weaknesses. Because I'm sure you'll agree with me that weakness is still a very, very deeply personal domain. People don't really want to talk about their weakness. Yeah. So overall, it's been very, very exciting and I'd say very refreshing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And you couldn't be more right, even intuitively, and even research that Gallup has done, that if someone is constantly talking to you about your weakness, how many times really do you want to meet that person over and over again? So nobody wants to meet that same person more than 2 times, because all you hear is about things that are not right with you. And that's a absolute, it's a very empowering, I like the word that you use, it's a very empowering way to think about yourself as a person, to think about your lesser talents as and accept them that they are not there, and I need to sort of focus and put all my investment in what is there. So I'm sure that has sort of helped you evolve as a coach. So any examples of how some of these revelations of your own talent themes have helped you, or have they at all helped you change your coaching style or the way you've coached people, or the way you have made impact on the people that you have coached in the past 6 to 8 months?
Oh yes, but before I go that path, I must also say that it's been humbling. It's been a very humbling experience because I have myself undergone my own style of coaching. To be very honest, there was a time when as a coach, I would look at weaknesses of people, right? Because I'd say that was the only paradigm that one was introduced to. However, in the last 6 months, my own coaching style has gone through a dramatic shift. And though I'd say I'm not arrived yet, I still have a long way to go and kind of perfect the art. But one area where it has really made me think is that it's made me a much better listener. My number one theme, like I said, is activator. It makes me take very rapid action. All right. So, however, as a coach, you've really got to develop the habit of listening to people and allowing them to talk. It takes you a little while to realize that this interaction is not about you. This interaction is really about them. So So one thing that's happened is that it has definitely made me deliberate a little about what I need to say, and hence has made me a much better listener. That's as far as the activator is concerned.
Mm.
As far as significance is concerned, well, like I've shared with you earlier, it has always been a very, very good strength to have as far as I'm concerned. I've been a salesperson throughout my life. Even now, I would say that my job as a coach is divided into three distinct categories. One is to go out and source a potential customer, which is sales or business development, as you might say. The second one is to develop content and to give the strengths psychology a few toppings of other domains as well. So I also need to develop a lot of content. And the third one truly is execution. So significance helps me to go out there and A, to get recognized as a Gallup coach, B, to really help me pat myself on the back and say, hey, listen, you've closed one more case. You've closed one more deal, or any other word that you may like to use. So I'd say I'm using all of these very extensively, and of course in my coaching engagements with people, relator has become very, very dominant. I'd say that I'm using activator and relator the most out of all these five.
So Manish, going forward with what you just said about your experience with sort of more self-awareness around your own talent themes, what I really
Right.
want to know from you is that in the past 6 months that you've had a chance to use the strengths-based approach in your coaching interventions, would you like to share with us an experience around that where you used the approach and it sort of had an impact on the person sitting across the table, that sort of a thing, anything that stood out and you'd like to share with us today?
Absolutely. In fact, as a matter of fact, I do have a couple of examples to share, right? And the one that comes to mind instantly is of a gentleman who I met not very long ago. He is in a very responsible profession of advising large organizations, large corporations on sustainable investments. He does this at a very large scale, and he has very ambitious plans for the future. He's been able to rope in a number of investors, a number of people from the media, and he's actually been able to create a think tank which together meets once in a month, and they kind of ideate on how are they going to advise a government, let's say, or a corporation or an economy on how to invest in a sustainable manner, right? That's what he does. Now, in my interaction with him, I found him to be extremely enterprising, extremely uh, bright. He's authored 2 books, like I said.
Mm.
Uh, his top 5 themes are intellection, ideation, maximizer, futuristic, activator, and achiever. These are his top 5 themes. Now, upon very closely examining all his top 5 themes, I discovered that he was absolutely driving from his number one theme, and that's ideation, right? Very, very rich, extremely profound in this particular talent theme. So nothing wrong over there. Maximizer, very good. Futuristic, all in line with where he wanted to be in future, all the stuff that he's gunning for in the future. Achiever, right there, full of energy, really wanting to stretch hours and so on and so forth. There was, however, one talent of his where I found that there is some work that could be done, and that is activator, right? But I'm sure both of you will understand that sometimes what happens is when you're talking to people, they are not able to relate themselves with a particular talent theme of theirs.
Yeah.
So instead of talking about activator, I asked him questions like, how would you rate yourself on patience? What kind of a temptation do you have when somebody offers you a new proposal? What's your attitude towards doing a task? Do you deliberate over it, or do you jump into it? How are you made in your mind? So all his answers actually fell in line with his number 4 theme, which is activator. And then I was forced to ask him this question. I said, how is it that you are manifesting this into your day-to-day life? Would you like to look at it and sort of exploit what you already have? Because you've got a whole lot of ideas with you, all right? And I read recently in a magazine that entrepreneurship is nothing but putting ideas into action. Putting ideas into action. So here is this man who's got ideation as his number 1 theme and activator as his number 4. However, activator was lying kind of dormant, not really used very well. So he asked me this question. He says, why do you ask me this question? Why is it that you're even suggesting this in the first place? Towards which my argument was that in any entrepreneurial venture, if we are not able to convert an idea into action and action into revenue, then you may as well run a social organization, right? However, you are running an entrepreneurial organization where the end objective is realization in monetary terms. And so you've got to take the right action and convert this into money, which is why I'm saying, how would you like to use activator? And I suggested to him that what if you were to meet just one new prospective customer a day? And I did this after having quizzed him at length about his daily schedule, and I realized that most of the stuff that he was doing was purely on ideating, which is what kind of left him drained with a lot of energy, and he felt that he's done a whole lot. However, all that he had done was just gathering a whole lot of ideas with very little bit of action on them. So that seems to have kind of stuck to him, and he's taken action on that, and I hear that he's doing well with this.
Excellent, excellent. So,
is the example in sync with what you'd asked me?
No, absolutely in sync. In fact, there are 2 or 3 things that stood out to me as you spoke, and one which I think for all coaches who are listening today, it is so important to ask the right questions. So what you just said, if we start bombarding people with theme names, activator or an intellection or a competition or an empathy,
Right.
what also we must understand is that these are words which are of the English language, so there is a meaning associated in our heads with them.
Right.
It's important that we understand these words in context of the talent themes, the descriptions, and what they bring. And sometimes the descriptions would come out from people only if they can answer some of the questions that coaches ask. So the minute you ask those 3-4 questions and he was able to answer them for you, here is where suddenly that activator for him becomes like, look, I'm already this. It's not that I'm not an activator.
Yep.
And these are examples which I just gave myself. So that's a great way of what we call claiming your talent themes. So that I think that was a brilliant approach. The second thing that I want to point out to you also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is you do see your themes playing out in this as well. So of course the activator stood out to you because you understand it very well. And the second thing that stood out to me was the fact you told him exactly one action that needs to be done, which is your focus also playing up. That or you put your activator in a focused way so that you're able to do these things. So that's excellent. That's excellent use of your own talent themes also.
Pooja, there's one more thing that I'd like to point out over here, and that is amongst all the people I've met, you'd be surprised to know that almost all of them have at least 2 themes in common with my top 5.
Yeah.
And I've met a person who's got 3 themes common with my top 5.
Yeah.
So this is for all the other coaches as well. I think and I believe that we end up attracting people like ourselves. And when that happens, it sort of becomes very easy for you to coach the person because you are pretty much in tandem with your own strengths and your own themes, and so you understand the person even better. Just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, that's natural, but that's also I think one of the things that we evolve towards as coaches, that how is it that we remove our own filters. And because as a coach, the one thing, if you remember, we had spoken about was that one responsibility is that we have to learn how to love all 34 talent themes equally. So you're absolutely right, that happens. And I think it's a great thing to be aware of that, I tend to do this. So maybe, going forward, it will be good to experiment with some of the others as well. Excellent point. The one thing I want to ask you, Manish, and that's because, again, no, I know you, so I can ask this question to you.
Sure.
Relator being one of your top five, and I know it
Yes.
plays out, in the way you behave, in the way you are. So have
Right.
you used the relator theme in, let's say, coaching people in the personal sphere, or it's all been always professional?
Well, Pooja, my answer to this question would be both a yes and a no, and I'm going to elaborate on that as to why I say so. Uh, in all my coaching engagements on a one-on-one basis, I realize that it takes a little while for the person to really start talking.
Yeah.
He or she does not immediately start talking about business concerns. If the business concern is over here, right? The aspects affecting the business concern could be way down, which
Mm.
means I would have to sort of probe much deeper to get into the deepest level and to find out the real concern. All right.
Mm. Mm.
So that's where the relator has actually come into play.
Mm.
And more often than not, I've seen people talking about a personal concern affecting a business result.
Mm.
So it's not really functional in nature. The
Mm.
problem is not functional in nature. It's not that he does not understand his job or his
Mm.
domain.
Mm.
It is behavioral in nature. There is some behavior of his which is getting hampered because of an external influence, which is what he talks about in a deep engagement while talking to me. And I realize that if I'm able to sort of address that, that's more than 70% of the problem solved.
Mm.
Like I said, functional area is not a concern at all. So that's where it really helps me to engage with the person on a deep plane, and
Mm.
the relator, of course, comes to my help a lot. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure it does. Again, like I said, it's your talent themes that make your brand promise or your brand value. And for you, understanding those subtle things, those cues, which, it's something other than what the functional aspect is, comes naturally to you. So I'm sure that plays out in your coaching and engagement as well.
Right.
Talking again about the strengths-based development way of coaching people, in this entire 6-8 months that you've probably used it more than you did before after you got certified.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you have learned along the way, or any piece of advice that you would like to give to people who are embarking on this journey of becoming coaches in the area of strengths-based development? Things that you have learned or want to share with the group?
Yeah. So I've got two bits of wisdom to offer here. Yeah. Number
Mm.
one being, I think it pays a lot to delayer with the person, to ask open-ended questions such that the person is able to talk at length about what he or she is feeling. In other words, I think it's very important to be a very good listener. Yeah, that
Mm.
that really helps a lot.
Mm.
Uh, the other thing that I very actively do is, after I get to know as to what the person's top five themes are, I
Mm.
invite the person into a conversation which
Mm.
has questions like, how did you feel when you succeeded last time?
Mm.
What led to your success? What are the
Mm.
things that you really like doing on a daily basis? And so on and
Mm.
so forth. Such
Mm.
that I'm able to note down manifestations of his top five.
Mm.
This in turn helps me to correlate avenues for future action with the gentleman,
Mm.
because he himself said those things out to me. Yeah,
Mm.
so being a listener and delayering with the person helps a lot. That's one.
Mm. Mm.
Second, I would say that it's a very good idea to my mind to really get to learn in detail about not just top 5 but your top 10. So a coach must
Mm.
know what his top 10 are in absolute detail.
Mm.
How does that help? Well, number one, it will make you cover almost one third of all the
Mm.
strengths we have, right?
Mm.
Number two, the probability of finding one of them or few of them in most people is fairly high because of the law of numbers,
Mm.
and
Mm.
it'll help you relate with those people really well. So
Mm.
these few things come to mind instantly.
Mm. Mm. Correct. Um, Okay. How about, are there any other tools that you've applied as part of the coaching conversations that sort of gel very well with the talent-based approach?
Yes, I do, and
Mm.
because I get this a lot. a lot of people ask me that this is my strength, all right, fine, and I'm going to be working on these strengths. But what do I do about my weakness?
Yeah.
What do I do about my weakness? So more often than not, I get this question, and I realize that not using the word weakness is a good idea. Instead, using the word basement is a better idea.
Okay.
So I help people get in terms with their basements and balconies, and I just tell them that, look, if your number one strength is activator, just view activator as a house that you have in front of you. It's your house. So there's this large looking house in front of me called activator A. It's a huge A. Avoid going into the basement of it. Whenever you visit this house, make sure you take the elevator or take the stairs and go to the first floor. Do not go to the basement. That's not where you need to be. To give you examples, I recently coached a person who's heading a very responsible position in a large organization out of Delhi NCR. This person is really good. Everything seems to be rocking. Number one talent theme of his is futuristic.
Okay.
All right. So he's got futuristic. He's got activator, his number 2, ideation number 3, intellection number 4, and command is his number 5.
Okay.
Now, like I said, everything is right. However, manifestation of command in the basement seems to communicate to his team members that he is bossy in nature, that he's abrasive, that he comes across as rude. All right. So I don't talk weaknesses. I talk basements, and I say to the person that, look, these are the balconies. Let's stay here. Let's do something about your behavior such that the balcony comes across and the basement stays hidden.
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent point. I mean, I think it's such a powerful and empowering thought to know that whatever feedback, so for example, if this guy is being called bossy or abrasive or whatever perceptions that people have of you, the way to rectify, change, or make that in your favor does not lie in something that is in your number 34 or your number 33. Oh, they call me that because my empathy is number 34. The answer actually lies in the same talent theme, because like you said, you're probably sitting at the basement. All you have to do is climb two flights of stairs and reach the balcony and you'll be sorted. So you don't really have to worry about things that you don't have. You just have to learn how to regulate what you do. I think that's an excellent way of putting it, and I think I want to latch on to that word of empowering. I think it's a very empowering feeling to be told that everything is in your control, So that's a great thing. Great then. But Jim, do we have any questions from the chat room right now?
We do not, Pooja, at this point. Just with the technical difficulties we had earlier, we didn't in there. But I think we've done a great job of working through these case studies as well.
Great. Manish, anything else that you want to add? I know you had a few other case studies. Anything else that sort of stands out to you that you would like to share, which we haven't covered? Because I know you said you have a few case studies. Anything else that we've missed out for right now?
Yeah, there is one case study that I would like to talk about, and this one is very close to my heart. I'm a believer of the fact that when you acquire something new, you must share it with your family, right? That's a huge testimony to the fact that you truly believe in the merit of what you've acquired. All right.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to talk a little about my daughter. My daughter goes to second year of med school. She's learning how to be a dentist, all right, and she's a bright student. As a matter of fact, after I completed my strengths program in Mumbai with you guys, the first thing I did was I requested her to take this test, which she did, and in a recent meeting with her when she came down from a hostel, I sort of went through the entire coaching session with her. I could share highlights of that if you allow me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So these are her top 5 themes over here. We've got deliberative at number 1.
So that is a contrast to you. Your activator number 1 and she is deliberative number 1.
Imagine an activator father and a deliberative daughter. All right? So deliberative number 1, discipline number 2, relator number 3,
Mm.
focus number 4, and maximizer number 5. Okay, so one look at the themes, and I know that this is a very seriously focused person. All right.
Yeah.
So I got into a chat with her, and it's a tough thing to have a chat like this with your child, because your child looks at you like they look at a hero, and so you've really got to live up to being one, especially when it comes to describing as to how this can work for you. So I asked her, I said, what's your number one concern right now? If you were to accomplish just one big goal, what would that be? And like I said to you, she's a very bright student. She said that if there was one thing that I would like to accomplish, I would like to ace my year number 2 in college. And if you can help me how to do that, that would be very good. That's all right, fine. Let's see what we can do over here. And we went to her talent number 1. I said, let's look at deliberative. You are gifted because you've got this. This empowers you to do deep thinking, think of alternatives, identify obstacles, and whatever else that you can ever imagine. So put down on a piece of paper all of those things that you require to do to ace it, or all of those things that you think would come in the way if you were to ace it. And when I say all of those things, I mean functionally, write down which subjects do you need to sort of develop more. Physically, in terms of what kind of health do you need to maintain. Any other thing, behaviorally, if there's something that you need, list down every little thing, deliberate on every little thing that you think is required for you to ace it. After she did that, we said, all right, fine, let's now look at your number 2, and that is discipline. Let's create a structure around it. Let's create a schedule around it. Let's create a timetable around it. Let's see how you can put things in order so that you are able to focus on each one of them, either in chronology or in succession or in alternation or whatever else. But let's create an order around them. We did that. And I said the third thing that you could do is get your focus to come to your rescue. Focus is an execution theme. So this is what will make you execute all that you've deliberated, all that you put down in your calendar, in your schedule, in your timetable. It's time to just get into it and do all of those things that you had planned. So that is something that really stands out in terms of a very comprehensive chat I had with her.
Yeah.
And she had a question.
Manish, yeah, go ahead.
She asked me this question. She says, how do I leverage my maximizer? So I said, well, are you dissatisfied with any one of the subjects you have? Is there anything that you feel you could have done better at? Is there some subject, some area where you feel you could become, greater than good, that you could go from good to great? So she did point out one, and that was dental anatomy. She says, yeah, dental anatomy, dental materials, these are two subjects that I would want to sort of get better at. I said, so let's go back to your schedule and let's see you plan out, instead of one injection, put 2 injections of this subject. If you were doing 1 hour earlier, add 1 more hour to this, and you will become from good to great. So that's how I went about this extremely tough assignment, though at home, but a very tough one. And she's very happy with the work that's happened, and she for some reason is very happy with her number 1 theme. That's deliberative. It makes her do all kinds of things the right way and identify obstacles as well. Sorry, that was a very long answer, but
no, it was not. It was absolutely bang on, and there's something I want to bring out in what you said. That once we start talking about strengths-based development, positive psychology, and all of that, it's very conceptual. It's an intuitive topic. We all like it. We know it'll make sense, but at the end of the day, it can be a very conceptual topic to talk about with a client, and in this case, your daughter. What I loved, and I would encourage all coaches to also do the same, is try and put a structure on how this concept gets translated into behavior, gets translated into actions. Because if that connection is made well, that's when people start seeing the power of strengths-based philosophy. Otherwise, beyond a point, it will remain intuitive, it will remain a good thing to do, but they may not have the knowledge, or they may not have the sense to actually see how can they convert that into actions. So I think, and that is the coach's job, and I think you did that exceedingly well, and that was a great example. Thank you. Jim, anything else do we have?
No, I think that'll be great for tonight. I appreciate everyone kind of putting up with our technical difficulties. If you're listening live, if you're watching the recorded version, you're not going to notice any of them because we're going to take them all out. But if you are watching the live version, we want to say appreciate you putting up with those. It's been a plethora, but we are done. Manish, thank you for taking a few minutes to a long hour in this case. For those watching the recorded version, it'll only be 45 minutes, but thanks for taking the time to be with us this evening.
It's been a pleasure, Jim. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
You bet. And I guess I should say good morning for you guys. We want to thank you, Pooja, as well, for coming out, and we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of the resources we have available at the Gallup Strengths Center. Just head out to gallupstrengthscenter.com. You can send us your questions or comments. You can send those in to us at coaching@gallup.com, and you can catch the recorded and audio and video, which in this case you're really going to want to watch the recorded one. All the past ones we have as well on our, as well as links to our Facebook and YouTube page over at coaching.gallup.com. I want to thanks for everyone for coming out this afternoon. This fully stretched my arranger in every way this evening to make this work, and appreciate you coming out this afternoon to be a part of it. Good night, everybody.